Okay, so in this video we're still going to do a linear search of an array of gelato flavors, but we're going to restructure the program so that that search algorithm is in its own function. So I think I'll start with the function prototype up here. This function is going to return an integer. It basically is going to search through the array looking for a certain flavor, and then if that flavor is found, the function will return the index at which the flavor is found. And if it's not found, the function will return a -1. So that's an integer return type. And then why don't we call our function search array? And the function will accept 3 parameters here. We have a string, an array of type string. I'm going to call that ARR. Even though that's kind of generic, it's pretty unmistakable that that's a reference to the array. It's going to be a reference to the flavors array, which is ultimately what we're going to be passing as for that parameter value. But for the function, in the function, that array will be referred to as ARR. And then we have an integer that will pass, which we'll call size. That will correspond to the maximum size of the array, which is basically called max flavors in main, but again, the parameter name in the function is going to take on the name size. So we have to be mindful of parameter names when we're coding the function. Okay, so one more thing here. We have a string which will be the search value. I think I'll call it search flav. This will be the flavor that we're looking for, be it coffee or toffee or what have you. Okay. So there's our function prototype with 3 parameters. Let's copy that, and we're going to define the function down below. Okay, so I'm going to begin, how about a bool, which we'll call found. I'm going to set it equal to false because we haven't even started yet, so we haven't found anything yet. And also, we said that this function is going to return an integer, which is the index at which the flavor was found. Okay, so let's define that integer that we're going to be returning. We'll call it found index. Okay, I'm going to start it out at a -1. -1 because no such array index is numbered -1. That's not a valid array index. So if this function does return a -1, that means the flavor was not found, and that's what we'll tell the user. Okay, so I guess for the algorithm itself, I'm just going to copy that and paste it in to save some time here. This should be search flav. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the loop here. The loop is, I have a loop counter of I. I'm setting up the loop to go while I is less than size. Notice the use of the word size, or the parameter name size. This is going to be a 10 in this case because we have 10 items in the array. But notice how in main that's in the variable max flavors. You can't use max flavors down here in the function. The function is like a separate universe with its own names for things, and those names are basically the parameter names. Okay, same thing with the array. Okay, in main, the array is called flavors. We cannot use that reference here in the function. It doesn't recognize it. It only knows the array by its array name, ARR. Okay, also search flav. Okay, up in main, it takes on it's a different name. It's search flavor, but that's not a legal name down here in the function. So be mindful of parameter names. You use parameter names when you're in the function. Okay, so we're looping through while I is less than size and the value has not been found. If the value is found, then this will stop the loop prematurely, so we don't have to bother going through the whole array if we've already found the flavor. Okay, so also here, this is where we're comparing the current value that we're looking at with the search string coming through. And again, I'll note that we're using our parameter names, not the names that those things are called up in main. Okay, and then if it's found, we're going to capture the index and set found to true. Very importantly, we have to return the index value, whatever that may be at this point. It's either going to be a -1 if the item was not found, or it'll be a 0 through 9 if the item was found. Okay, so let's use our function. Returning to main here, I'm going to create a brand new variable. I think I'll call it found at index. Okay. And this new variable, found at index, is going to receive the value returned by my search array function. So I'm going to call my search array function. He needs three things from me. First of all, the name of the array that I'm searching through. This is called, I'm here in main now, so this is called flavors. Okay, the flavors array. Notice how when you're passing an array reference to a function, you don't put square brackets there. It's just the name of the thing. That's enough. And then the size of the array. Here I could hard code a 10, or it would be better to use my max flavors variable, which is created a couple lines above. And then finally, whatever I'm looking for, which is the search flavor, in this case coffee, or I could hard code coffee here as a string. I'll just use the search flavor variable. Okay. So this will call the function. The result will be either a -1 or numbers 0 through 9 if the flavor is found. In this case, it will be found. I think we're going to get a 7 back because coffee is the 8th thing in the array, the zero-based array. So from this point, we're home free. I think I'll just paste some code in here. Okay, so if the found at index is not -1, that means we found whatever we're looking for. We'll tell the user where the index is. Or else, that if it is a -1, then we're just going to have to say it wasn't found. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, coffee was found at index 7. Why don't we change coffee to toffee, which is not in the array? And toffee was not found. So I guess that's it for this one.